Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about what active gratitude looks like. If you've been around for some time and you've been watching my content, maybe you've read my book, maybe you've been listening to the podcast for some time, you'll know that in the seven steps to use law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, gratitude is one of those big steps. And also, as a Muslim, you will know that gratitude plays a huge role in Islam. It is one of those things that are so highly promoted for us to have gratitude. And that is because gratitude is a powerful attraction tool. And when I say attraction tool, I don't mean it in like a universal give us and whatever. I'm talking about like attracting by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Him giving to us the things that we are asking Him for. Here's the thing about gratitude, and I will speak a little bit about this before I go into the meat and potatoes, or as I said, like in the past, the lahm and batatas of the episode. Gratitude is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people misunderstand. A lot of people think that it's an emotion, like it's a feeling, and it'll come and go and we can't really control it, like when we feel grateful or when we don't. And that is just not the case. Gratitude is something we feel, but it is above emotions. It resides somewhere above it, meaning that we can feel a number of things and still have gratitude. So it is not a feeling, because feelings usually kind of stand on their own. We can't feel sad and, overjoyous at the same time. We can have like happy tears and stuff, but it's not because we're sad, it's because we're so happy. But we can't be like heartbroken and happy at the same time. We can't be angry and at peace at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So like there will usually be like a very big overshadowing emotion that'll rule the way that we're feeling in any given moment when we're having huge spikes of emotions. Whereas we can be angry and still have gratitude. We can be sad and still have gratitude. We can be happy and still have gratitude. Okay. So that is like the thing about gratitude, is that it kind of encompasses all of the emotions. Like it can reside regardless of how we're feeling. And the thing about gratitude is that I would actually probably more likely say that it's a skill. Like it is a skill that we can acquire, we can grow, we can, work on it, we can make it stronger, we can, it's like a muscle. If we don't use it, it gets weaker. So the less we are using the skill of gratitude, the harder it becomes for us to feel grateful for things. And so it is definitely something that we can get better at within ourselves. And it is definitely something that we have control over. And I think that that's the one thing that is very important to take away from this episode, as I am going to talk about like a little bit later, when it comes to creating a reality for yourself by the will of Allah that He is ready to give to you, but also in terms of using the law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, in terms of what gratitude can look like actively in your everyday life. Gratitude, we know, is mentioned time and again in the Quran and in several hadiths. So we know as Muslims that it is a very rewarded state of being in, which is actually, that's what it is. It's not a skill. It is a state of being in. Of being, a state of being, or is it a state of being in? I don't know. I'm not English. So however it is said, it is said. And so when we are grateful, it is a state that we're in. We can still experience all the other things, but the gratitude is our state of being. So it becomes easier for us to go about life and attract things into our lives because we are constantly in a state of being grateful. And so it'll be easier for Allah to come in, and also because Allah loves it so much more that He wants to bless us more abundantly because we are already grateful. Okay, so one of the places in the Quran that is so like heavily quoted and cited like everywhere, especially on Pinterest, of course, but is from the Quran, where it says, if you are grateful, I will surely give you more and more. But I actually want to share with you a different ayah from the Quran. And it's coming from Surah An-Naml, and I'm going to share it with you. It's coming from ayat number 40, but I'm going to start reading to you from surah to ayah number 39. Okay, so in this, I'm still studying this whole surah, so I'm not going to be able to give you a whole lot of details because I still like doing my own research and like reading through it and whatever. But like this is the point, like when I first read the surah, that I highlighted it because I was like, this is very impactful. But in this surah, Solomon says, basically Solomon wants to get the throne from the Queen of Sheba. He wants one of the jinns to get the throne to him. And so we start here on ayah number 39, and it says, a demon from among the jinn said, I will bring it to you before you get up from your seat. I am strong and trustworthy enough to do it. But one of them, who had some knowledge of the book, said, I will bring it to you in the twinkling of an eye. When Solomon saw it placed before him, he exclaimed, this is by the grace of my Lord, to test whether I am grateful or ungrateful. Whosoever is grateful, it is for the good of his own self. And whosoever is ungrateful, then surely my Lord is self-sufficient and generous. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go into the details of like this whole story or anything like that, because as I said, I'm still studying this. But I found that quote to be so very interesting and so eternally truthful, because we are not being grateful for the sake of others. We're not even being grateful for the sake of Allah. You know, we're not doing any of those things because Allah is going to gain anything from it, because the people around us are going to gain something from it. It is truly for ourselves. So gratitude and being grateful, it is for the good of his own self. And that is so profound, because I think that one thing that we tend to do is we think about gratitude and we're thinking, oh, I'm being grateful so that I'm showing Allah. You know, it's like a show. It's like I'm doing it to impress Allah. And in reality, it's not about impressing Allah. It's about doing something for yourself. It's about improving something on your own. It's about changing your perspective on your own reality such that you enjoy your life and the bounty and blessings that Allah has bestowed upon you as you are actively working for more or other or better or whatever you want to call it, okay? But I thought that that was so profound, and it is so, you know, this is the wonderful thing about the Quran, and I've said so many times, especially on my Thursday episode, you know, there's so much knowledge, and quite often when we're reading the Quran and the different surahs, that's something that might slip away a little bit because we're like, yeah, of course, and then we'll like try and look for those more like, you know, poignant, more hard-hitting things of like, you cannot do this or you should do that. And in reality, this speaks volumes. It speaks volumes, and it's kind of nestled in there because it doesn't have its own ayah. It is, you know, it starts from, but one of them who had some knowledge of the book said, I will bring it to you. And it continues all the way down to, and whosoever is ungrateful, then surely my Lord is self-sufficient and generous. That's the whole ayat. And it's kind of nestled right in there towards the end. So it sometimes can be one of those things that we can kind of skip kind of quickly past it and not notice the gratitude, the enormity of that sentence in and of itself, and the, is it called profundity, or is that like a word that's made up? The profoundedness, the profundity, I want to say profundity, but it sounds weird, of that statement. SubhanAllah. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you as well as we're going into this next part, because I want you to understand that acquiring this sense of gratitude and working on your level of gratitude, your skill set of gratitude, your state of being, as in being a grateful person, it is not for Allah that you're doing this. It is potentially not even for your akhirah that you're doing this. It is literally for your own self. It is for yourself. It is, in a lot of ways, like it's a purely selfish thing for you to work on, because it's not going to benefit anyone other than yourself. Okay. And I know that can sound a little bit strange, right? Like, oh, but if it's not going to benefit anybody other than myself, then why should I be doing it? I should be doing other things that's going to benefit more people. No, you want to do this. Okay. So in order to attract other things, then you need to be grateful, because we know that Allah wants to bless us more the more grateful that we are. And so this is where a lot of people say, but how can I be grateful for something if I don't have it and I want something different? Okay. And this is where active gratitude comes in, and what that can look like like for you, how to show that active gratitude as you want something else. So let's say you want a bigger house and you've been asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a bigger house. Okay. What does active gratitude look like to you as you're trying to manifest this bigger house? Well, active gratitude means being home proud in whatever situation you're in now. So you might be living like, well, I don't even want to use my example because I love this place, right? But like, you know, some people might look at my place and be like, oh, you live in a cave, it's dark, and it's a studio apartment, you know, and it's small, and don't you want more space? And don't you want like a garden, an outside space, balcony, more windows, whatever? So a lot of people might look at this and like, you know, I could as well look at it and be like, oh, it's not enough space. I would like that outside space, whatever. Or I can be home proud of the home that I already have. And I can take pride in it by keeping it clean, by having furniture that brings me joy, by having decorations that I like, by, you know, just taking pride in my home, making sure that it smells good, that it's inviting, that it's a place that I feel safe and comfortable in, that I can rest and relax in, that I can do the work that I need to do in. So it becomes like a question of gratitude in an active state is being proud of the thing. Could be being proud of the thing, right? It could be making sure you look after it. And those of you, for instance, who live at home with your mum and dad, whether it is that you haven't moved out yet or because you've had to move back home again after you've lived somewhere quite impressive. For instance, after my divorce, while I was married, we were living in a big, beautiful house in the countryside in Denmark. And it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely one of those like dream house scenarios, very much my kind of dream house at the time, you know, and so I was very house proud in that home. And then when I got the divorce, I actually momentarily moved back to my mum and dad, and I was living in the spare bedroom with all the kids' toys, and like the paint job was patchy because all the kids like, you know, wiped their boogers off on the walls and stuff. And I definitely didn't have room for all of my stuff and all these things, you know, and I'd like, how old was I then? 35, I think, maybe, I don't know, 35, 36, you know, moving back in with your parents and stuff. Like a lot of people would look at that and be like, oh, that's a little bit humiliating. And like, oh, I only live in like 5 square meters. And before I had like 150, 200 square meters, you know, and like look at it with shame and like, oh, this is so bad. It's a step back. But the active gratitude was for me at the time was, alhamdulillah, I have 2 parents who have a spare bedroom that I can live in. And even if they didn't have the spare bedroom, they have a living room where I can camp up, and they would absolutely 100% have let me do that. In fact, I've done it before. And, you know, so I had like this sense of gratitude. Well, at least I have somewhere to go. At least I have my mum and dad who are willing to open their doors for me and take me in that situation and be like, you can stay here however long you want. I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to contribute to the bills. I don't have to do anything. In fact, all I have to do is just be there. And my mum and dad were just so happy that I, you know, was there with them and safe with them. So even if it's one of those situations, there's always that like house proudness, I don't know, of like appreciating the opportunity in the situation that you're in for what it is, even if it is not your dream. So it wasn't my dream to move back in with my mum and dad in my mid-30s, but I was so grateful for the ability to be able to do that, for the opportunity to be able to say, hey, mum and dad, I don't know where I'm going to go right now. Can I pack a few bags, in fact, too many, and just like dump them in your hallway and pretty much just like mess up your whole house with all of my crap that I'm taking with me from the divorce, and not sure what I'm going to do, like have no plan. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to stay here for. I don't know what the plan's going to be. And I'm also, by the way, massively depressed and have no like intention of doing anything drastic, going out and getting like a job right here, right now. Like, because I'm super depressed. I'm probably also really cranky, you know, just not a very pleasant person to be around all around, right? And they said yes. So that was like what active gratitude looked like for me in that case, because I was still thinking I need another place. I needed to live somewhere else. And you can do the same, you know, whether you live home with your mum and dad, whether you're living in a house share situation, at least you have a roof over your head, you have a bed, you have a place to put your clothes and your possessions. Maybe there's a desk where you can sit down and work on your side hustle, your studying, whatever it is that is like going to be that next step that's going to be able to take you somewhere else eventually. That is what active gratitude looks like. Being able to look at the things that you have and be proud of it, take care of it, look after it, be like, make it comfortable. Instead of saying like, oh, I don't like the space, so I'm not going to decorate, I'm not going to be here forever, I'm not going to invest in furniture that I find comfortable, which a lot of people do. You know, like, oh, I'm not going to be here so long, so I'm not going to invest in good stuff. Whereas it's like, well, you're not going to leave it there just because you move. Surely you would take the stuff with you, or you would sell it, right? But it's that the pride of having that place and making it your own and making it a place that is comfortable for you. So that is like one example. Another example, let's talk about money. Again, this is something that a lot of people want. And a lot of people want to, manifest money. They are asking Allah for more cash flow, financial freedom, so on and so forth. And yet they're not looking after the money that they have. So what does active gratitude look like when you're trying to manifest more money? Well, it can look in different ways. Number one, budgeting, understanding where your money is going. If you have no idea where your paychecks are going, like you get the money and before you even know it, you're like, I'm already in minus. Like I'm already living off of my credit. You need to figure out where that money is going. Chances are there's some things that, the money is just leaking out of you because you're not aware. There is no awareness. There's no pride in your money. There's no sense of ownership in your money, of responsibility around your money. And so it's easy for you just to kind of be like, oh, I just don't have any money. And you find that anytime you feel like you get money, it's the same thing. It's gone before you've even sort of like had a chance to look around, because there's no pride around that money. There's no sense of responsibility and wanting to look after that money and taking care of that blessing that Allah's given you, even if it is less than what you desire for yourself in the future. So doing things like budgeting, understanding where your money is going, stop paying on subscriptions that you're not using. Stop that. Like the amount of us who have more than one subscription to any type of streaming service, people who are paying, Patreon fees. Like I might have a Patreon at some point in the future, but I would hate that people are just paying for that subscription if they are also like not managing their money well, and I'm just another thing that's making them bleed money every month, right? Not all subscription services or Patreons may feel like that, but I'm just saying, it's just like look at those things. Look at where your money is going. Look at, like, do you have to have a premium subscription? Do you have to have 3 streaming services? Do you need to have a gym membership if you don't go into the gym? Maybe a pay-as-you-go plan would be more optimal if you only go in once a month. Do you need, I don't know, anything? Do you need to have Deliveroos all the time? Look at where your money is going, right? Look at where it's going. Figure out, where are my leaks? Where are money just kind of pouring out of me before I even have a chance to kind of like sit with it and enjoy it? It's the same thing with paying off debt, when we're just paying off the minimums. And I understand that for a lot of people, it feels like that's the only thing we can do. But look at, again, having a budget, understanding where the money is going. Maybe you can allocate more to some of the debts, and decrease some of the debt so that you're not just kind of like paying off the interests and basically the debt is rising and rising and rising and you feel so out of control at some point. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not saying this like as a financial advisor. Please do your own research with your own budget and whatever country you're in, but it's respecting the flow of money and respecting the abundance that Allah has given you in this moment, even if it doesn't feel abundant to you yet. So gratitude and being actively grateful for a cash situation or a financial situation while you're trying to work for more, or even if you're in crippling debt, is to sit down and really allocate every single penny and understanding where your money is going, why it's going there, is it worth it? Maybe even something like, okay, but I still don't have enough. The active gratitude is also saying, I will get a side hustle. I will babysit for more. I will do people's laundry. I will, cook. Like I don't know the situation for this woman, but during Ramadan, at the local grocers, it's like a little Muslim Bangladeshi man who's who has the shop. And I went in there, and every day for Ramadan, I was having my suhoor with Moroccan simmin. And that's like basically like a Moroccan pancake type situation. That's what people call it, right? And that was a woman, a private woman who sold them to him to sell. And she would maybe make like an extra 20 euros every day just from that. And no, it's not, like eye rolling huge amounts of money, but it's like a little bit extra, and it's doing something that she's already really good at. And may Allah reward her, because every morning during Ramadan, I was starting, or like, having my suhoor with her msimmin, with her food that she had made. I also ended up giving her a tip at the end, like through the Bangladeshi man who owns the shop, and being like, this is for her, because I really want to say thank you to her, because really she carried me through Ramadan, right? And may Allah bless her and reward her abundantly for that. So even something like that, do something simple. It doesn't have to be like, I have to work an extra 20 hours every week. It's just whatever you can manage. But something like that as well is, you respecting your own cash flow situation and being in active gratitude for what you can do and what your limitations are within your budget, and living within your means. And I'm going to say this, and some of you, again, like might feel a little bit triggered, because some of you are like, I don't know where I'm going to get the extra money from. Pay off stuff that you owe. I'm not just talking like debt, like as in like my student loans and my mortgage. If you owe somebody in your family some money, if you owe a friend some money, pay off those debts, pay off that money, show that you're good for it. Put yourself in a desirable position financially as well, by respecting other people's cash flow as well. So active gratitude is not just about, oh, I'm so happy for this money that I'm going to spend it all willy-nilly because, I can't take my money with me in the grave. It's also about respecting what money does for you in an everyday situation, whether it is feeding your children, putting clothes on your backs, paying your tuition fees, paying for medical bills, depending on where you are living in the world, any of those things, or as I said, like even having a subscription to something that you're enjoying and it helps you wind down. But make sure that it is thought through, that it is not just there because, oh, everybody else has it and I don't know, like I should also probably have it, kind of thing. Okay, I feel like I've spoken enough about this, so let's talk about the last point, because I know that a lot of you probably are like just waiting for me to get to this. Manifesting a marriage, manifesting a partner. Now, I've spoken about this before, but I'm obviously not going to leave this one out. So if you want to be in active gratitude and you're single and you want to manifest a marriage, what can active gratitude for your life as a single woman look like? Okay, appreciate yourself. Know your own worth, know your value, work on yourself, actually like yourself, love yourself, even if it is through the eyes of Allah. Like I'm not looking at myself and like, oh my God, I love myself, but I love myself because Allah loves me. So I'm kind of removing myself from the equation, and I'm like, if Allah loves me, I can love myself and I can love and appreciate who I am, right? So if that is something that you need to do, then do that, right? Because the rest might feel a little bit like ego tripping to you or whatever. But that is one way to show active gratitude, is by saying, I'm grateful for me because I'm a good person. Like I'm a decent person. I'm intelligent. If you think you're beautiful, you say I'm beautiful. If you think you're, an organized person, then say that. If you think you're a good mom or would be a good mom, then say that. Whatever it is about you, say those things, right? Say like appreciate who you are, appreciate yourself, appreciate what you're quote unquote bringing to the table. What a horrible expression that is, but appreciate who you are, and also show yourself that. It's not just about, oh, but I know that I'm a good person, so why can't I get married? Show yourself that it's okay. Show yourself by taking yourself out on dates, getting to know yourself. Many of us don't do this. We don't like do the solo dating, getting to know ourselves in decent ways or in good ways. We're doing it very stressfully. I guess I like this all the time and other people have told me this is about me, so I'm just going to run with it. Get to know yourself. Understand who you are. What do you like? What don't you like? What have you been conditioned to like versus not liking? And does it actually, do you actually agree with it, on a fundamental level? All of those things. Get to know yourself, and then show yourself the same kind of appreciation that you think a husband might be bringing into your life. If you feel like, and I've said this so many times as well, the the matched underwear theory that I have of like, you know, when we're single, we can wear our ratty tatty undies and like not really care about like what we look like underneath like the abaya or our coat or whatever. And so we might wear like some really worn out undies or our period undies or whatever. Not that we're gross or anything. You might not do that also, by the way. I'm just saying like, this is just a general, understanding kind of thing. And we're kind of saving, you know, our special underwear for like those big occasions. And we're thinking to ourselves, you know, like when I'm married, I'm going to be like proud of the way that I present myself, even down to like my undergarments. And I'm only going to be matching my undies and bras all the time. And I'm going to like, you know, like I'm going to be more feminine. I'm going to dress up a little bit more. I might do my hair more often because, you know, when I get home and I take my hijab off, my husband's going to see my hair and I don't just want it up in like a messy bun and unwashed for 2 weeks. You know, all of those things, do that for yourself. That is active gratitude, doing that for yourself, appreciating your beauty and that side of you already from this position. Appreciate your own intelligence at this point, appreciate your own initiatives, appreciate your own humor, appreciate your own anything that you're hoping that your future husband's going to appreciate about you. Do that already for yourself. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are also giving you that appreciation and, you know, like not necessarily as in like they have to give it to you, but like surround yourself with people who are also not saying to you, you need to get married because your whole worth and value is in a man, right? You want to make sure that you're also around people who are like, no, but you need to find the right person because you're actually a high value person, you know? And I'm not saying that like in a red pill kind of way, like high value man, high value woman. I'm just saying you're worth being picky if you need to be picky. You're worth having the right marriage. You're worth getting to pick and choose and not just taking whatever comes along because you're nearing your 30s, you're nearing your 40s, you're nearing your 50s and you're still not married. That you actually have, you know, a choice that you can choose while respecting and appreciating and being grateful for who you are as a person. So you don't just run to the nearest man and say, you need to make me feel grateful for my life. You say, I'm already grateful for my life. So what are you going to bring to it? What else can you bring? And not a situation of you need to save me from myself and from my life and my situation. So that is like one of those ways that you can show that active gratitude if you're single. Enjoy also, and this is what I will say this as a divorced woman who's now tried being married. There are so many things when you're married that you can't do that you might have been doing when you were single, and some of those things you're going to miss. You know, and I don't know, I'm not going to get into details. Maybe we'll do that like in a different episode if you want to. It really doesn't have anything to do with any of the stuff that I teach about, but it's more a question of like, value and appreciate your singlehood, like your single days. And I know that like, yeah, but I want somebody to share these things with. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your cat, share it with Allah. But it's the point of sort of like appreciating also what being single gives you of value and what you can do when you're single that you can't necessarily do as a married woman. And again, being grateful for that and understanding that at some point or another that will change, because you will at some point or another, inshallah, get married. So appreciate this part of your life that is called single. Even if it feels like it is taking up more years of your life than it does for some other people. It is totally okay and it is totally safe for you to still be grateful for it without that being me pushing it away, like pushing away the goal of marriage or pushing away the goal of a partner or a money or the big house or whatever else that we are trying to attract and ask Allah to bless our lives with. Okay, my darling, I have rambled on and on and on and on and on. If you've got questions, if there's something like comments or anything like that, please feel free and leave that for me. I absolutely love reading through them. Also, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to me on my... Oh, can you hear that? Oh, no, you can't. Sorry. It's just ringing in now for Dhuhr. So I don't know if you could hear the adhan because I've got like the adhan on my phone when it rings in for Salah. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm at 330 odd subscribers now, and I'm so excited about it. That means like I've got like another 160 odd to go before I hit 500. So thank you so much to everybody who's already subscribed. If you haven't, I'd greatly appreciate it if you did. It's just one step closer for me to being able to monetize over on YouTube and to be able to monetize on my podcast, because currently my podcast, and we are like 140 episodes in. SubhanAllah, like to me is like so unbelievable almost, but like I'm almost 140 episodes into this podcast, and I haven't made a single penny off of it. And I would love to be able to do that through monetizing, where I can get money from advertisements rather than from you guys. So if you can help me get to that stage, I would greatly appreciate it. And tell your friends as well to do it. Go ahead. It's okay. I'm not going to judge. All right, my darling. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I hope you have a wonderful day, whatever you are doing. And I will see you in on Thursday's episode, inshallah. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.